Good afternoon. My name is Teresa Flynn. I'm the Vice President of the MWRD Board of Commissioners, and welcome to the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District's second annual Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month program. Let's begin the program with the Pledge of Allegiance, so please stand. Now back to your plates. I would like to acknowledge my colleagues that serve on the board with me. President Carrie K. Steele, the Chairman of the Board, Chair of Finance, Marcelino Garcia, Commissioner Precious Brady Davis, Commissioner Yumika Brown, Commissioner Cameron Davis, Commissioner Dan Pogozelski, Commissioner Ada Carrell Sepulveda, and Commissioner Mariana Spiropoulos. She's in the house too. And a thank you to our Executive Director, Brian Perkovich. Thank you to the MWRD Public Affairs and all the staff who assisted in gathering us today for this very special occasion. You guys did an outstanding job. The room looks great and it smells wonderful. I'd also like to acknowledge any electeds in the room. Do we have any electeds in the office, in the room today? Just us guys? Here we go. Today we have put together a wonderful program recognizing Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. On this very day, 33 years ago, May 14th of 1991, the United States Congress passed a joint resolution recognizing May as Asian Pacific Heritage Month, while also recognizing two very important events that took place in May. On May 7th, 1843, the very first Japanese immigrants arrived in the United States. And on May 10th, 1869, the first transcontinental railroad was completed in the U.S., which could have not been accomplished without Chinese workers. Today's program recognizes the incredible contributions of the AAPI community, including our very own agency. So I'd like to give a special recognition to our MWRD staff. Thank you again for doing this. This year's AAPI theme is Advancing Leaders Through Innovation. We are very fortunate to have with us today Mia. An artist based in Chicago that just showed us the Korean gang sign, and I'm only joking about the gang sign. It's the Korean, I'm only kidding, it's a Korean heart, so Korean heart. She is a fierce advocate for Asian American representation, and what she continues to do is nothing short of impressive. Her full bio is in the program, but the fun is in getting to know Mia today. Her passions, her challenges along the way, her contributions to the AAPI community. So let's all enjoy today's fireside chat with my colleague, Chair of Finance, Marcelino Garcia. And again, let's share that Korean heart and get it right. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President. Thank you for the great introduction. And thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm very proud to be doing this program again for a second year in a row. And thank you especially to my Chief of Staff, Joanne Dill, and Claire Manoa, who is the Chief of Staff of Commissioner Ada Corral Sepulveda.
Amazing people, amazing.
As in many ways, they're the brain people behind this program. They're the ones who make me look good. And they're the ones who found Mia and made her come here to share her experiences with us.
That would be
which
Claire.
is awesome. Okay, I'm about to say something in Laotian. Mia day, which means come eat in Laotian. So I see that everyone's here in line, getting some food. And in many ways, food is what brings us together in many ways. We all come from different cultures and places, but the one thing that we can always get together and get behind is breaking bread with one another. So hopefully this luncheon will serve as a way for us to learn more about our friends and family from the Asian American Pacific Islander community. And thank you to you, Mia, for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. And you can say breaking bread. Here we might say sharing rice, right? Just saying, putting it in context.
Very true. So we're excited for this program. Mia, it's like you have such an impressive resume of a lot of different and varied things that you've done. Can you kind of like walk us through some of the things that you've accomplished and tell us how you got there and how you've gotten to where you are in life?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. First of all, hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. What an honor. Do you mind if I put context for me being here? So Rolando, who I think is in line getting food, where is he? There he is, back there. So Rolando and I are part of a BIPOC birding group. And the acronym BIPOC stands for Black Indigenous People of Color. And it's a specific group with intention to bring people who may not normally feel welcome or that you would see in outdoor spaces doing things like standing looking weird with binoculars and looking up into trees, or walking around with cameras or recording devices. So this is how we met. We were at a waterway, Rolando may remember, and we were birding. And Rolando, on behalf of the water rec, gave kind of a talk on how there was some thingy in the river that was like cleaning the water. And I had known, when I canoe down the water, I see these thingies, and I'm like, oh, what is that? And, why is it bubbling, or what is that? So we learned a lot about the department here and the efforts made here while we were birding. And I have to say, it was an access point for me, and I'll speak for our group of birders, that never would have known one of the many things you do here if it weren't for having an intentional space for us kind of bird nerds that like to go out to nature to feel safe and accessible. So thank you, Rolando. He's the access point for me coming here today. So that being said, thank you for asking what I do. I've always followed whatever my passion is. I don't know if I have a good sense of intuition. I've always been very stubborn and very creative, and I've kind of wanted to do whatever I've wanted to do. Don't ask my parents about that. They will still just be like, what is she doing? But, I think I've had I feel very lucky. And I also feel very fortunate to have a community that no matter where I go, what did Mr. Rogers say? The helpful, ask for help because there's always someone that will help you. So I don't think anyone does anything as a silo, right? Yeah. So what I do now is I came to Chicago to go to a great book school in the suburbs called Shimer College. So it's like all the pre-Socratics and the Socratics and Hegel and very exciting stuff. So that's what brought me to this area, and Chicago had me stay here. So I came up in the 90s in Chicago playing in rock bands. I'm a professional actress. I also have been a longtime yoga teacher, and I run a Tai Chi school right now. I also run a nonprofit called AAPI Arts, which stands for Asian Pacific Island, Desi South Asian American, and we're an arts group. So, side note, little plug, I brought some, because I run this arts group, I've got complimentary tickets to the MCA for all of you. So each ticket is an admission for 2. They're in the back there. Joanne has them. There's also buttons and stickers for our organization. And because, people get a month, this is our AAPI month. So this Saturday on Argyle Street, did we know Asia on Argyle? Awesome Vietnamese restaurants, great restaurants in general. There's an outdoor street festival there this Saturday from noon until 6, continuing the celebration of our Heritage Month. And my group has produced a musical cabaret there, which is indoors, so that'll be fun, and there's information for that. So plug over for now. But anyway, so yeah, I've just done, Chicago's a great town to do things. Like I lived as a yoga teacher and an actress for about 20 years until the pandemic shifted my career choices. I don't know any other major city in America where you could live successfully as like a TV show, movie, theater actress and teach yoga. Like Chicago's great for that, right? So I think, again, the community, Chicago, my personal drive, and just maybe a little bit of talent, a little bit of smarts, that kind of stuff led me to where I am.
Come on, Mia. Talent, you have a lot.
Thank you.
If you're a fan of Chicago Med, you would have seen Mia on TV at Chicago Med, right? Seasons 1 to 5. She's also going to be this summer performing. What's the?
The play is called Hedwig and the Angry Inch, And so Hedwig was pretty, like, Neil Patrick Harris was on Broadway, it won Tonys, the whole thing. It's like a really funny, kind of bombastic rock and roll musical, and it's happening in Wicker Park. The theater's called The Den, the theater company is called Haven, and I will be the drummer in the band on stage. And I actually am a drummer, so I was like, perfect. So that's what's happening this summer.
So we will be sharing that later on this summer so that everyone can go and support Mia and support the arts.
Oh yeah, you should all come. That would be fun if you all came.
One of the things that you didn't touch upon when you were just talking, but it's very close to my heart, you're on your way to becoming a full-time nurse.
I am, I know. That's the thing. I'm like, I didn't stop doing the other stuff. I just folded nursing in. And this is when I'm even like, okay, Mia, how are you doing this? You just do it. So yeah, I was telling everyone, Commissioner and Joanne and Claire at lunch yesterday, like, I love Chicago because I'm an adjunct professor at DePaul University in the master's program at the theater school. So when I open my wallet, I still have a wallet, I have the DePaul, like, assistant professor ID, and then the other side of my wallet is a Malcolm X Community College student ID, because I do both. So I'm like, I get these emails on my Outlook, it's crazy, about like meetings in the theater school, and there's encampment at DePaul, and I wear my professor's hat, and then I have my, like, your homework assignment is due on Thursday as a student at the city colleges. I love it. So yes, I am, I'm entering my 4th semester this fall to become an RN at Malcolm X. It's a great facility.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm a nurse, and that's the irony. Can I tell the story?
Yeah,
so my mother
definitely.
immigrated from Korea to America as a nurse. And then, like, even before I became a nurse on TV, and it's hard for me not to be a little bit, to put some commentary in. As an Asian American actress, I was typecast as a doctor or nurse on TV for like 15 years, even before Chicago Med. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh, Asian person, let's make her a nurse. Asian person, pharmacist. Asian person, oh, here I am as a doctor. And I'd always take pictures, it'd be kind of fun. And then I landed med. So my mother literally was an OR nurse, right? And I love my mom. I don't mean to make fun of her English, but I have to make fun of her English, like, because she's great. And I know it was just Mother's Day. So I take selfies of myself. And because Chicago Med, I was on the first couple seasons. So we were getting the costumes different because they're like, no, it should be the hat, put the glasses on. No, they don't wear glasses in OR. Like, we had different medical advisors. So every time I took a different picture of myself on a different episode, I'd text my mom, and my mom would text back, oh, you look just like mommy, you know? And then next week there would be like a purple outfit. She's like, oh, you still look like mommy. You know, it's just adorable. So anyway, so my mother came to this country as a nurse. I grew up with her as a nurse. I played a nurse on TV, and now I'm becoming a nurse. Life imitating art, imitating life. Manifest destiny. You become your mother someday. Like, I don't know. I don't know a little bit of everything, you know.
Very true.
Yeah.
So how have you managed juggling all these different things in one point? And what advice can you give people on how to improve themselves, especially through yoga or through Tai Chi or just healthcare in general?
Yeah, thanks. I think self-care is number one, the most important thing that anyone can do. I could even ask that question of you, Commissioner, because we're all, or anyone in the room. Like, who here is not busy? Right. Oh, are you not busy? Okay.
No, I am.
I was like, you just had a family thing out of town. Yeah. You know, we all have like family relatives graduating. A lot of us are parents. We're in partnerships. We have parents. We are parents, you know. We're in community. Our friends need support. Yeah. So how do any of us do it? I'm an extrovert, clearly, so it's just that my activities are very outward-facing. I feel like everybody is as active as I am. Sometimes it's more inward-facing. So how do we do it? I think the answer is like a deep connection to some kind of inner resource. You can call that mindfulness. I think mindfulness is honestly a little not deep enough. You know, it's a great entry point. I have a dedicated meditation practice. I think even though I'm very big and I'm outwards, making time daily for some kind of silence, maybe that was a Freudian slip. There's a science to silence, sure. Anyway, making some kind of time for inner silence and inner connection to something that's deep inside of you it's the only way to do this. I don't think you have to be religious. I do think it's spiritual. I can't not say that, but I don't think it has to be dogmatic. I think that if there's an acknowledgement that we have a limitless resource inside of us for the universe is here, then that is what fuels me. So I meditate all the time. I can call it prayer. I grew up Christian. It may not be to a Christian God, but I say my good mornings and my good nights to who I think is out there caring for us and that we're a part of. So I think being connected to something deep inside of you that's actually connected to something bigger than us, that's the secret to all of it.
Oh, that's definitely true. I think we need to take time for ourselves. And you're an active person. You go biking along the lakefront.
Birding, right?
Birding.
Wherever Rolando is, birding.
You go canoeing. So you've seen our assets everywhere. And you've learned more about what we do here at Water Reclamation and all the water that we treat. And yesterday in our conversation, you're like, wait, so basically the water that's in our faucet or in the holding tank comes from the city. It stays with me and then it goes to you guys.
Blew my mind. I told Claire yesterday I was at our Tai Chi school and I was like, you guys, did you know there's 2 different offices that run our water? Okay, when you wash your hands, it's so funny. I'm this is new to me, okay? I was like, you turn the water on and it's like Chicago. Then it's like your water and you're washing your vegetables or your hands and you take a shower. I was in the shower this morning. I was like, Chicago. Water reclamation district. I was like, the second it goes down the drain, it's a water reclamation district. And honestly, this is fascinating. I don't know because you're all here, this is completely fascinating. I was talking to Tai Chi people who are like, we're in the city. We don't think about these things. It's amazing what you all do. So thank you, because we are so lucky to have these first world infrastructures, right? Like, I turn on the faucet, I have clean water that can be hot or cold or somewhere in between. I take a shower, I turn the faucet off, and I'm off with my day. You all are providing so much support for what happens in the water when it goes down the drain, right? Yeah.
Well, she's going to join us on a tour, and she's going to do the virtual tour, and she's going to be our ambassador into new communities.
I think
this is something that we learn on a daily basis. It's like
Can I say one more thing? Just because I'm very openly, I think I consider myself a spiritual person. So it's like a microcosm, macrocosm way of seeing things. So when things happen, I'm like, I wonder if there's a deeper meaning. There's always a deeper meaning. Oh, see a cricket. Did you hear the cricket? Nature's calling. That's another way of saying turn off your phone. That's okay. You don't have to turn off if it sounds like a cricket, don't turn off your phone. So when I was at our Tai Chi school, we practice a kind of a Taoist Tai Chi. And what to me that means is that in Asian medicine and also in this Taoist approach to our Tai Chi practice, the elements is a very much integrated part of how we practice. We call the different physical movements different elements. There's metal or mountain, the next one is water, then there's wood or bamboo, fire, and it settles into earth. So in this kind of philosophical and real way, those are the elements of what happens on the planet, right? You start out with something like metal or mountain or rock, and it's the water that can kind of like help it come down. Trees come out of what comes up, fire, and then earth. So the water part is not only it's all important, but in our practice, the water element is like one of the most parts of how we physically act like water. Is getting a little Bruce Lee up in here. But you know what I mean? We have this releasing sensation and we try to embody this sensation of water in our practice because water is everywhere. Water is really important. So when I really do say thank you, because it's a first world approach, water on, water off. Where's it go? Where's it come from? But in this esoteric philosophical sense, this water element's really important to our everyday lives. It's in us. So thanks for taking care of the element, really.
Well, and it's interesting how your cultural background and everything else transcends a lot of the meta universe that we have, and you're able to put it into daily culture. What other things from your culture and background do you deal with on a daily basis? And what advice you have for our friends on how to deal with people from different backgrounds? And is there something from specifically, Asian cultures are huge.
Yeah,
But from different cultures that you may have, that you may want to share.
Yeah, thanks. It's an interesting question, this question of culture. I try to be grateful and humble, but I do get a little snarky around this time of year, to be honest. I have to say, it's like the Asian American Pacific Island diaspora is like over 100 islands, and if you include the islands, hundreds. I mean, think about it. It goes from like half of Turkey's Asia, right? So from Europe up to part of Siberia, all the way down to Australia, out to Hawaii, and down towards like the Antarctic. I mean, spatially, landmass-wise, that is huge. And culturally wise, it's ridiculous that we're crammed into the same diaspora. It's so different. You know, even in the East Asian community, which is traditionally China, Korea, and Japan, Mongolia and Korea have very close cultural ties. You know, but Mongolia is not even considered part of East Asia. So it's just even within our, you can keep chunking it down smaller and it's still really different. So it's hard to discuss the Asian American experience, and that's when I get micro. I can only talk about my experience as a child of immigrants from Korea. Growing up, I was born and raised in Philly. Anyone Philly? Philly? I'm a city, hey, Philly in the house. All right, yeah. So I'm a Philly girl. We've always been city girls. My brother and my parents are still in Philly. My sister's been in Brooklyn for 30 years, and I've been in Chicago since the 90s. So I can only talk about a very urban Asian American experience, which means that we can see that Asian America, again, is huge. So can't really talk for the whole community. But from my standpoint, because I grew up with child of immigrants, I was talking with Claire about that, there's a certain wave of immigrant parents that didn't want us to grow up Asian at all. You know, so I didn't grow up speaking Korean because my especially my dad was just like, you know, you need to assimilate. My sister and I were like, there's the Lin family down the street and there's the Park family. There's no one else that looks like us in this neighborhood. And you want us to assimilate? Like speaking English will get us only so far when you look like this, like, you know, that kind of thing. I mean, even I remember from like daycare, I went to a Jewish daycare for 3 years. My mom said I spoke better Hebrew than I did Korean growing up. Like my Hebrew name is Miriam, I'm not kidding. So I was just like, why did you, she's like, because it was the local daycare. I was like, what? There wasn't even any black people in this school. It was like Jewish people and me. I'm serious. So that's what it was kind of like growing up. So when my parents kept trying to get us to assimilate, but it could only go so far. So the blessing of that, though, is growing up at home is like you said, the food is a great thing. I think almost every person, this is, and forgive me, this is totally generalizing. I think that a lot of children of immigrants will say their mom's the best cook. So my mom is the best cook. I'm just telling you, she really is. Like sometimes I'll look online for recipes because, you know, immigrant moms don't do quantities. How much salt? They're like, you just put salt in it. Okay, thanks, Mom. Anyway, the cooking is really important to me. Yep. Joanne, we're talking, I make my own kimchi. It's part of a thing at home.
Us.
Yeah.
Class in the future.
Yeah, it's great. I do love Korean cooking. Like I said, I have to kind of look online. But that's great that there's so many Korean-run cooking websites. So that's a nice thing about being integrated here. Yeah. The cooking I bring in, we were talking yesterday at lunch about even how we address our families. You grow up with a certain way of addressing family members, like in Korean culture, unless you're friends or they're younger than you, it's rude to say their first name. I didn't know the name of my grandmother until after she died because I saw her name on the funeral thing. I was a kid when she died. I'm not kidding. She was always Halmoni. You know, then you're like, oh, that was her name. So these are interesting cultural things that growing up you didn't realize. So that was interesting. So yeah, a lot of things to bring in. As far as advice on what to bring in, I think it goes back to being authentic and being in touch with yourself. Because honestly, it's nice to celebrate what heritage we're all from. But when you're in touch with the deeper part of yourself, we're all the same. We're all from the same source, and we're all here in this together. And it's lovely. I mean, I can't wait to dig into the Soation food. It's nice to celebrate our individuality. But really, if we're authentically our core, we know that we're all the same.
That's definitely true, and I think that's why we've taken an effort here at Water Reclamation District to ensure that we celebrate everyone in just a month, but we try. So
we're trying.
You really didn't talk too much about your father had a martial arts school.
Yeah.
Is there a particular? I used to play, or I used to practice Taekwondo when I was young,
Yeah.
and I was bad because I am not flexible at all. Flexibility is something that we talked about, and any recommendations to people on how to become a little bit more flexible?
Sure. Well, I always, I didn't say this at lunch yesterday, but when I hear that, I always think that flexibility of the mind is more important than flexibility of the body, really. Like keeping a flexible attitude and a flexible heart, that's the real key. Because not everyone's going to touch their toes. Like, since we're in an Asian context, kimchi squat or squatting? Okay, so there's like this thing that Asians like to squat. Sometimes we do. It's comfortable. Not everyone can physically squat because your Achilles tendons are born at certain elasticities. Some people will never be able to squat with their heels on the ground, no matter how much you try to do that, unless you get like a surgery to open that up. So the point is, some people will never be able to touch their toes because they might have, with straightening their legs, they might have very tight tendons or some kind of back muscular or ligament issue that prevents that. It's okay. That's why having a flexible mind and heart, I think, is the most important. So on the physical part of things, just to say, because these beautiful bodies, these vessels, these temples we're in are like amazing. First, we do need to take care of our body. I can get all esoteric and spiritual, but we're in a body. If we don't have a healthy body, the other stuff can't come because you're too busy with like pain or nurse brain, or managing your health and wellness, which is actually the yoga. I consider myself more of a yoga therapist. That was also an access point for me to becoming a nurse because it's health and wellness. So as far as taking care of the body, it's honestly all the wisdom we've heard all the elders talk about. Get a lot of sleep. Drink more water than you think you need to. Eat healthy food. These are paramount. Do some kind of exercise every day, right? I mean, it's true. Like, oh my God, they were right. They're right. So take deep breaths. We'll talk about that later. Drink a lot of clean water, clean water. But flexibility does actually have to do with hydration. If you're talking about, here's another thing about flexibility tip. A lot of yoga people have overextended tendons and ligaments and very tight muscles. If you see a flexible yoga person, and if they let you, I know this sounds weird, touch their thighs and their hamstrings, I guarantee they're going to be rock solid. Because you can have very open SI joints or very open hips and very flexible knees. What you're doing is pulling the tendons and ligaments instead of stretching the body of the muscle. So a lot of flexible people have loose joints, not flexible muscles. So, seriously. So a way if you want to get flexible in a muscle is a lot of hydration. Muscle fibers are long. They need hydration to get long and more supple. So we call this an elasticity. To get flexible, you want elastic muscles, and elastic muscles need to be kind of plump. Back to water.
Very cool. We're going to do a yoga practice in a little bit,
Yeah.
but what sort of advice you have for young people who are entering professional life, or someone very young who wants to do something different? What sort of general advice?
That's
do you
such a
have for
great
them?
question. Do you mind if I ask you? What
Oh, me?
advice would you have, Commissioner? Well, I'm just curious. We had such a lovely lunch yesterday, and Commissioner Garcia is great, right? Very personable, very charming. So what advice would you have?
My God, follow your dreams, or try things that you probably didn't think that what your parents are not pushing you to do. It's try things, fall down, stand up again, and keep pushing. But have a dream, and and the other thing that I learned early on is for people that work with me is treat everyone fairly. Your reputation early on is going to be with you forever and ever. And if you develop something negative, it's really hard to shake that off. So hard work, having objectives, but also you need to be flexible. You can't say I'm going to be this by age whatever, because in the middle of your path, you're going to like find a lot of other opportunities that will come to you. My last one is travel. Get outside your comfort zone. You know, it's like we're grateful to live in a bubble here in the Chicago metropolitan area. But get outside and see different places.
Yeah, word for that for travel. May I yes and you? We do that a lot in improv and in acting. Yes and. Yes to everything you said. And I would add that, I feel like I'm pretty easy when it comes to this stuff because it's the same answer of authenticity. Like connect to some deep part of yourself that helps you understand who you really are. Not like I like chocolate better than the vanilla, but really, really what beyond what makes you tick, what you are. That's a deep sense of being. So connect to that, and then from there, what your dreams are, your authentic dreams will come. And yes, to what you said, follow them. And I think it's great advice to treat everybody fairly. I know, politician, because your reputation follows you, but also because it's nice to be nice. Like, just be kind to yourself and be kind to people. The reputation will follow, whatever, but just be nice. I mean, it's nice to be nice. So, is it okay if I add that?
Oh yeah, definitely. Well,
We just want to be nice people.
Well, one of the things
Not
that I
that
learned from
politicians
Mia
aren't nice
yesterday is that she teaches improv and
Acting, actually acting. Yeah.
But part of that work is listening to people and reacting to that we're saying, what they're saying. Because if it's all about yourself, you're really not getting out there. So it's listen to what other people are saying and react to what they're saying and add to it.
Yes.
But have a conversation.
Absolutely. In fact, even in one of the nursing things that we get tested on heavily is called therapeutic communication. And therapeutic communication is not limited to nursing. But therapeutic communication to me is very much like acting. Acting lesson number one is listen and respond to what you're hearing. Memorizing the lines and the technique of like talking to the back of the room or where to stand and this and that comes. The big thing about acting is staying present and improv, staying present to what's going on, listening to the person and responding to what they're saying. That's like a huge thing in nursing as well. Yeah. So it's kind of amazing if you kind of meta that, like you're having a conversation, but then you think about like the conversation you're having as you're having the conversation. Listen to what people are saying. Everybody wants to be heard, and they should be. Every person wants to be seen and heard. As children, there's a wide passage for that because they need the feedback because they're little kids. They need to know what's appropriate, society growing. But as we get older, it carries on. And some people are more givers and they'll just be listening. But then if you hang in there, they're going to want to talk about themselves too. So there is a kind of it's a technique, but also it goes back to kindness, I think. If you give someone the grace and the space to let them talk about themselves, especially when you don't agree, that's the hardest part. But I think that goes back again to nursing, to following your dreams, to being kind to people and that goes back again to what? If you have your own grounding and your own fortitude inside of yourself, that enables you to hold space for other people. Listen to them in the moment and respond from a truthful place inside of yourself, whether you're like acting or improv or being a nurse and caring for a cancer patient or, talking to someone you don't agree with. So it all, you see, this is like the macro and the micro. It all goes down to like what's in here, right?
Yep. And what's in here is also the lungs, right? So isn't that a good transition
segue. Oh my God. Can we get a Korean heart for that segue? That was a good segue, Commissioner. Thank you. Okay. It's like this. Okay, can I just say, okay, so the reason why I'm doing, it's so cute. Good enough. Puerto Rican version of the Korean heart.
Exactly.
So
Thank you.
Yeah. So the Korean, I don't know, in case you don't know Korean heart, and plus Korean heart's like so 10 years ago. I'm so 10 years ago. Korean heart came up in K-pop culture is really huge, BTS, K-dramas. So this started in Korea. You kind of do like, you put your fingers together and then you turn it sideways because, ooh, she's got it back there real good. You've got good Korean hearts.
Go, Nicole.
Yeah, Commissioner's got it too. Oh my gosh, that was great. So we were taking pictures today. I'm like, everyone do the Korean heart. So anyway, so it's cute. You can see, especially a lot of K-pop celebrities, but a lot of celebrities do it too. It's, you know, if you do something with a hand, it's like the new this. So anyway, Korean hearts. So what I wanted to lead us to through was a nice breathing technique. So I was talking to people about breathing. We're obviously all breathing because we are here, right? So I think the big difference between like a breathing exercise and what we're about to do is the consciousness we bring to it. So is everyone okay if we do a conscious breathing exercise? You can do it standing, you can do it sitting. Probably not great chewing because we don't want you to aspirate. Okay? So swallow the food and make sure you get a drink. You can drink, it's okay for now. I just don't want people to choke because I am BLS certified, okay, but we don't want to go there. So anyway, in all seriousness, so what we want to do is bring this sense of consciousness to how we breathe. So we are breathing all the time. Breath is part of what defines life. Some creatures breathe water, right? Some kind of respiratory system. So on the body aspect, we breathe in oxygen because in our lungs, the human body is amazing. Again, water, right? So when we breathe in mainly oxygen, there's the gas that's in air that has an exchange with the blood cells in the tiniest part of our lungs. Is that amazing? Think about that. We breathe in air, it mixes with a water-based substance in your body, which is the blood. Those red blood cells take the air we breathe and it carries it to every single thing in our body, from our hair to our toenails, out to our fingertips. And on the inside, bones, organs, the endocrine system. Can you think about that? We're breathing in air, and it becomes life-giving breath. And we breathe out waste. And you all know about waste, right? But it's important, right? So when we think about just that level of knowledge, and this is happening mindlessly, unconsciously, thousands and thousands of times a day, millions of times in our lifetime, right? We can breathe up to 60 breaths in a minute, right? If you're running or something. Usually we say between 20 and 80 per minute is what is pretty good, 20 to 60. So what we want to do, and this is where I can call it bringing in a consciousness, or you can call it yoga, is bringing in awareness, a control over this autonomic breathing that we're doing. Realizing the importance of the deep breath. Remember, every breath you take, it's air out there. When it comes in here, it becomes life, literally. We cannot live without breath or oxygen, right? So what we can do is, there's a couple different ways of doing this. We're going to breathe in through the nose and out of the mouth. And there's no dogma about this. If you have a stuffy nose, then you can just breathe in and out of the mouth. One of the reasons why we breathe in through the nose is sometimes your breath gets dry. It's very practical. Also, when you breathe in through the nose, there's a pituitary gland in there. And sometimes we say that bringing in breath can actually affect the pituitary gland and bring in a kind of a calmness. There's a lot of good reasons why we breathe in through the nose. And we're going to breathe out of the mouth. Why? Because we can expel a lot of CO2 and those gases out. So let's try something. Let's put whatever hand on your belly button. Doesn't matter, whatever hand it is. And you're going to put your other hand on your chest. So it's going to look like this. Thank you. Ooh, thanks, Commissioner. You got me. Super easy. Elbows down. Just relaxed. Just one hand on your belly button, one hand on your chest. Super relaxed. Your eyes can be open, softly open or closed, completely up to you. We'll be doing this about 3 minutes. So just feel how your hands move. Some of us are natural chest breathers, so you feel the top hand rise and fall more. Some people are natural belly breathers, so you feel your belly button rise and fall more. There's no right or wrong. It's just different. It's all just different. So I'm going to ask you to breathe more into your chest. So this is where your consciousness comes in. Feel the top hand rise and fall gently as you breathe deeper. So you feel the top hand rise and fall, just like the waves of the ocean. You'd start to take slower, deeper, gentle breaths into the top hand. You can go in through the nose and out through the mouth if that's comfortable. And now bring your breath down to the bottom hand. So the lungs don't go that low, but the muscles that move your lungs are down there. Now this might be tricky for some people. If you're a chest breather, you might feel strange bringing your breath down to your belly, right? It might feel weird. That's okay. You press the breath into your bottom hand so you feel that rise and fall more with your breath. So we're making a conscious effort on how you can feel like it feels like you're directing your breath. And now try to breathe into both hands equally. It's a little tricky. So you try to, right? You try to make the top hand and the bottom hand rise and fall the same amount as you inhale and exhale. And it can be a little tricky. It might pop you out of relaxation because you're thinking, how can I do this? Or what's going on? It's okay. It's just a breathing exercise. So the effort you're making now is a kind of a consciousness. Now, relax your hands down. You can keep your eyes closed. We're going to keep breathing with the exercise. Without your hands, without the physical cue, still try to breathe into your chest and your belly smoothly. And think about the lungs as two 360-degree balloons, because they are. So when you're breathing with the front of your body going forward. The sides of your body, under the armpits, those are going out towards your arms. The back of your body is reaching behind you when you inhale. The top of the lungs goes all the way up to the collarbones. They get real small up there. The very top of your shoulders go up when you breathe in. The bottom of your lungs are kind of like a shelf. When you breathe in, the bottom of the lungs actually go down towards the pelvic floor. All of those are happening at the same time, so you can keep breathing deeply, in through the nose, and out of the mouth. Feeling your lungs as two balloons that inflate. Oh yeah, they also inflate towards the center. They go in towards the heart. Every time you inhale, these big, helpful organs are inflating with this life-giving oxygen. So you feel the power of the breath when you put some consciousness into it. So this is conscious breathing. Encouraging where the breath is. You can feel breathing more into the chest. You're activating these muscles. You can feel like you're breathing more into the belly. You're activating those muscles. And then continuing a deep breath, feeling the lungs as two balloons. We've all blown up balloons before, and you see how they inflate evenly? Those are your lungs. So you can think about that. And one, if I may beg another minute, you can slowly start to open the eyes if they're closed and just tuck this technique back into your pocket, just real quick, because I can't not talk about anatomy. It's helpful. So under the lungs is a muscle called the psoas. It goes on, It goes under the lungs, okay? And then it comes down this way and it attaches to a muscle in the low back about here. I call it the mullet muscle because it's like short in the front and then it goes long in the back, right? But it ends about here. So other muscles that connect to this part of the spine are the psoas muscles. So on the inside of your spine, on the inside of here, they connect from there down to the inside of each of your hips. The psoas is what makes us bipedal. Okay? So think about the muscle. It's on the inside of my hip bone, like right underneath my ball and socket. It's in the ball and socket joint. I've got my femur bone like this, right? Psoas is in there. I've got two of them. They're connecting to that bone on the inside of my spine, and now I'm going to sit. So what do those muscles do? They just shortened. They're connected to the same space as the diaphragm, which what? Helps us breathe. So if I am sitting all day like this, those psoas muscles are tight and shortened. It's pulling on that bone, which is pulling on the diaphragm. And when that diaphragm's constricted, you can't what? Exactly. It is impossible to take a deep breath if your diaphragm is constricted like that. So the new medicine science, was a huge news thing that came out last October, and I think anybody that works in an office was in denial. They say you should get up for 5 minutes after every 30 minutes of sitting. Big Harvard medical report. Even people who run marathons that are in excellent cardio shape, your cardio system is affected like negatively by only 30 minutes of sitting. Look it up. So 30 minutes of sitting, what do they suggest to do? Walk around. Why? I'm going to say to open up those psoas muscles, to help the diaphragm down. And I know we're all like, 30 minutes is nothing. I'm barely starting my report in 30 minutes. Your report can wait, because if you're not there to do it, the report's not going to get done. And what's most important? You and yourself. I know it's like 30 minutes is really short. It's okay. You know, you take a break. Look up your Instagram while you're walking around, and you're 30 minutes after your 30 minutes or 5 minutes. So I hope that's helpful. To me, it goes back to breath, as we're doing here. So that's just a cue. Don't sit for too long, she said, as we've been sitting for 45 minutes.
Yep.
But anyway, try not to sit for too long. Oh, do lunges, open up your psoas, because the psoas connects to that bone which is pulling down your diaphragm. Make sure you do big breaths, open up your arms, stretch your diaphragm every day. Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Little
Thank you.
tip in there? Thank you so much for having me. I hope that wasn't a Debbie Downer on how we shouldn't sit for too long, but thanks for having me.
This is awesome. Do we have time for one or two questions, or does anyone have any comments or questions for Mia? Okay, maybe not. So, President Steele, VP Flynn, Commissioner Spiropoulos, and Pogoszelski, come up here. We have something for
my
Mia.
gosh!
So, and where's the executive director? Come up here, Brian. Mia, on our behalf, thank you so much. Yes. So, wait, and don't leave, because, you know, we'll take a picture with us, but I would love a picture with everyone who's here and Mia. Because guess what? It's like you guys are like what makes us succeed, and you're our family. So we'll see you guys at the MCA this weekend.
Oh, it's
And-
actually,
Or what is it?
Argyle Street this
Argyle Steel
weekend.
Festival.
Free outdoor street festival. Come get some food, see some performances.
And then this summer, we'll go see Mia
That's
in
right,
the
in Hedwig
Hedwig.
and the Angry Itch. Oh, boy.
Yeah.